Annyeonghaseyo, welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, three American romance novelists discussing all things K-romance from a writer's lens. We fangirl over our favorite actors and actresses, talk up our trope addictions, and nerd out on K-drama deep dives. We'll throw in a few K-pop and K-skincare recs for good measure, because why not ride the Hallyu wave all the way to shore? So grab some tteokbokki and listen to your new favorite unnies.
Hey, Megan.
Hello, Leah.
We are down Amy today, so I think that rules out a hey, everybody.
Yeah, I know. It's just me. Just me.
Well, I am very excited to talk to just you about what we're talking about today. But before we get into it, how's your summer going?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Busy. We have like 1,000,001 track meets for my son, which is very fun because this is like his first season. And so another thing that we've really been into is the Tour de France. So I don't know. I've never watched it every year because I really thought I didn't know enough about bike racing, but my husband is really into it. And I really thought the Tour de France was like, you just get on your bike and pedal and like whoever crosses the line first wins. Like I didn't know.
Actually, that's you're how you used to be is how I still am.
Well,
so educate me.
Okay, so I'm like, I thought it was like that simple. I didn't realize that there are teams and there are strategies and there's all these like unspoken rules. I had no idea. So I'm like learning about that this year. And so my husband and I have been, it's like our ritual. Every night we sit down and we watch the extended highlights because it's on, obviously it's in France. For us, that's like pretty early in the morning, so it's like at the end of our work days we'll sit and we'll watch the extended highlights, which are like an hour long. So it's not like it's, it's,
so the highlight is them biking.
Yeah, so the highlight's them biking, but it will like,
so sell me on where the drama is.
Right. So it'll like hone in on like the attacks, and it'll focus on like the attacks. So like when some member of a team will be trying to like beat another team and they're like really strategic about the attacks, and you'll have like the different teams like battling each other, but again there's all these like unspoken rules on how you treat the guy with the yellow jersey who's like the overall leader for like these whole 3 weeks. And then you just have these guys who are like machines who it seems like they can do anything, and I'm obsessed. So if anyone watches the Tour de France, I am obsessed with Wout van Aert, and I have an inappropriate crush on him. Like, inappropriate. He's from Belgium, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, he's Belgian, and his name is Wout, which is W-O-U-T, Van Aert. So his name is Wout, which I just like love. His name is Wout. He's a beast, meaning for a biker. So obviously bikers are built like really lean.
Okay.
They have like no upper body because it's like, no, Wout van Aert is amazing. He can do anything. He's like one of the best sprinters in the world.
I'm gonna look him up really fast.
I love him. He's kind of got like a personality even when he rides the bike. So yeah, we've been watching this like every night, and I'm like, really into it.
Yeah, not too bad.
And then my husband is out of town this week, and I'm like devastated because now at night I have to watch my highlights like all by my lonesome, and I'm really sad. I'm really sad about it. But at least I can like really perv on Wout van Aert with my husband not around. But yeah, he is just amazing. And I don't know, if you guys watch the Tour de France, I guess by the time this airs, it'll be over.
Oh.
I was going to be like, don't spoil me, but like...
Yeah, of course. But yeah, we have a couple week lag time between when we record and when a podcast goes to air. So yes, Tour de France will be done and dusted by the time this comes out.
Yeah, but, still, let me know if you watched it this year. Let me, like, at this point we'll know who won, so let me know if you care. If you didn't care, that's fine. I just love it. I love it so much. So yeah, that's what we've been doing. And I know you went to the Great Barrier Reef. Can you just like tell us a little bit about that? Because
yeah. So we've been to the reef twice, and we're gonna go one more time before we leave. So we are currently in Australia, in far north Queensland, in Cairns on the gateway, the gateway city to the Great Barrier Reef. And yeah, we have had an amazing time on the reef. I think that I am happy that the coral is as intact as it is.
Right.
Although it's sobering because you can see a lot of bleaching and dead coral as well. But, I am really happy we are seeing living coral. And I guess feeling, more motivated to like get in that climate fight. Because, I mean, this is an amazing ecosystem, basically. You've got the rainforest that comes all the way down to the beach. And then, that nutrient, that heavy nutrient like load, I guess, is going out into the reef to help support, all the amazing animals out there. And I've been really proud because my 6-year-old, who barely could put her face in the pool, is happy going snorkeling like out in the ocean where we're like jumping off the side of a boat into like the open ocean. I mean, it's not the open ocean because it's a reef,
Right.
but like you don't see land anywhere. Right. And she's got a little life jacket, but still, I mean, it's a big deal. And so the routine we've established now is that she cries the first time. And she like now has like prepped herself because we've done it twice. So she's like, okay, I always cry the first time. So she cries the first time and then has to get right out. Then she has to like sit down and think about it and be like, be brave. I really want to do this. And then she's good to go for the rest of the day and like doesn't want to stop.
That's so cute.
So we've had 2 days of that. Yeah. And the second time, we saw a bunch of sea turtles, which is really awesome. Although I was just with her and we came across a leatherback sea turtle, which is like the largest sea turtle like in the ocean. And it came like out of the gloom. And this thing was a freaking beast. And I don't know. I mean, like, I wasn't really, like, thinking in, like, a heavy biological way as I was snorkeling, which is, like, I don't know. I probably should have. But I just remember being, like, we've lived in Hawaii. I was like, this turtle is, like, I didn't even think of it being, like, a different species. I was just like, what the hell? Like, there's so much bigger here. And it was so big that my daughter thought it was a boulder with an eel coming out of it.
God.
So she starts panicking and screaming because she's afraid of eels and like jumping on my back. And I'm like, dude, you're going to drown me. And she's like, the eel. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, the eel. I'm like, cool, where's an eel? I want to see it. And then I'm like, wait, that's just the turtle.
Aww. That sounds amazing.
So anyway, yeah, it was really cool. And we're getting close to the end of our trip, unfortunately. We're rounding it up. So today we're going to go up to a spot called Cape Tribulation. That's about 2.5 hours north of here. And this is a sidetrack that is not... I thought it was funny. My husband didn't think it was funny at all. But a couple of days ago, I was just like on social media and I saw that Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson are up... were up there having like a sneaky romantic getaway. And this is a pretty isolated place. And so I was just like driving along with my husband. I'm like, do you know what's funny is we're going up to like Cape Tribulation and Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson are up there. And he's like, why are you saying those things to me?
It sounds like something my husband would say. He'd be like, why?
And I was like, well, it's not of interest. It's not like I'm like, oh my God, Kim Kardashian. I was like, actually, I was more like, will there be like paparazzi? Like, I thought we were going to like a remote enclave.
Right.
That's like 2.5 hours away from like the last main city, on this coast. And I was thinking more, is there going to be like a paparazzi machine? He's like, I don't want to talk about it or think about it. I was like, okay. Sorry, Cam, I hope you had fun.
My husband would say the same thing. He'd be like, those names don't belong in this family or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, take that name out of your mouth.
That's so funny. Wait, so you go up there tomorrow or today?
No, today.
Okay, well, let me know if you see... I actually do like Pete Davidson, so let me know if you...
I mean, I would let you know just because it's, like, pretty freaking random.
I mean, maybe Nick Cage is there,
not out
too.
of, like... Yeah, I mean, not out of delight of, whatever. And I mean, look, some people really like, those celebrities, and that's fine. It's not like my jam. I've never watched, like, any of their stuff. But, I mean, I am aware they exist in the world, and... look, I'd just rather not have that celebrity encounter. That is not one that's on my bingo card.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's really funny.
But, yeah, it should be fun. But speaking of, I gotta thread this needle back to, like, the segue I was hoping to do. But then, I talked about the reef and the turtles. We were talking about Wout.
Yeah.
And Wout is, like, a wow pretty hot. And do you know what else is hot? The drama we're talking about today, which is
KinnPorsche. Hell yes. So Leah and I have obviously been waiting to talk about this, just so you know Leah's level of dedication. So obviously she's in Australia, and she's like busy while she's in Australia. So like the timing, it can be very hard to record podcasts. So she is up at 6 a.m. sitting in her car right now.
Yes, I'm in my car because I couldn't wake up the house in the vacation rental.
So that is how dedicated she is, but that's how much we wanted to talk about KinnPorsche. So
it is true. This is not a hard
step
for me.
So let's get into it. KinnPorsche is a Thai action romance drama that aired this year, and it's based on a webtoon of the same name by writing duo Daemi, which is spelled Daemi. Right now, it's available to view on the app iQIYI, which is spelled Iqiyyi. So I saw the trailers and press begin for this drama like a year ago, and I've had my eye on it for this long. Originally, the drama was produced by Film Mania, but in mid-2021, the producers of the webtoon parted ways with them. And then new trailers were released in the end of 2021 under the production company Be On Cloud. So what's interesting is you can still catch some of the old trailers on YouTube, which is a bit of a mind trip because they're the same, but then they're not. Some of the actors were changed, and some of the scenes have been filmed slightly differently than the end product that was released by Be On Cloud. So if you want to look it up, you can. It's kind of funny. But whatever they did paid off, because the final show that aired was a delicious gay romance between a dangerous mafioso and his reluctant bodyguard. We're going to use the Thai actors' nicknames where we can, because I don't think any of you want to listen to a podcast where we butcher Thai names repeatedly. So Mayo plays Kinn, the middle son of the powerful head of the Thirapanakun mafia family, and Apo plays Korsh Kittasawat, a scrappy underground fighter who takes care of his younger brother after the death of his parents. Porsche and Kinn first meet when Kinn is fleeing some baddies intent on killing him and runs into the bar where Porsche is a popular and flashy bartender. He offers to pay Porsche if he helps him escape, and Porsche agrees. So Porsche assumes that will be the last he ever meets the handsome Kinn. But when Porsche's uncle's gambling debts put them in danger of losing their house and the funds for his brother's education, Porsche is manipulated into working as a bodyguard for the Thirapanakun family. What follows is a lot of open button shirts. Like, I swear to God, no one buttons their shirts. It's all down to, like, mid-chest. The entire
Yeah, if it's not a belly button showing, then don't even bother putting it on.
A lot of open button shirts, hand jobs, hot tub sex, gunfights, a sex dungeon with a hedgehog, kidnappings, and mafia dealings. And look, that's only like a sampling of all I could have put in there. Look, friends, this drama is a lot. There's so much going on, 3 different budding romances, and it's one of the sexiest Asian dramas we have ever seen. So usually we have a non-spoiler section, but look, I'm sorry. Today we're delving right into it. Why? Because there's just so much to talk about, and frankly, even if we spoil every single minute, every single minute detail about this drama, we still think it's damn fun to watch. Like, it will not lessen your entertainment, I promise you. So hold on to your hedgehogs, button up those t-shirts, and let's get into it. First of all, sum up your feelings about this drama. Do you recommend it, and do you have any comps?
So, do I recommend this drama? To me, it's like, is the sky blue? Is water wet? Do crocodiles surround me here in Australia? In short, yes. So yes, I do. And here's the thing, too. Like, do I like mafia shows? Not particularly. Do I seek out action in my dramas? No, not on purpose. Do I enjoy people riding around on fast motorcycles? Nah. But do I love, like, bodyguard tropes? Yes. Do I love yearning? Yes. Do I love found family? Always. Do I love problematic BDSM with voyeuristic hedgehogs? Yes, I do. So look, there is a lot of ridiculous in the story, like Megan kind of alluded to. But the the thing that's like the take home that I want folks to like really think about if they haven't seen the drama, or just to celebrate if they have, is how the cast honestly just sells the entire Bananas plot, hook, line, and sinker. Like, it's a mafia story with heart. And I haven't watched Vincenzo yet. I understand that there's like some Bananas in Vincenzo, so it could be a comp. But for me, my comp right now is kind of like Crash Landing on You, simply because I felt like when I was trying to think of a comp for this, I was like, that is a drama that had a ridiculous premise. You know, like, when I started watching it, it was my first K-drama, but, like, you know, seeing the tornado and being like, what is happening? And there was just, like, kind of a lot of ridiculous moments in this. But it was also awesome, and I felt like the chemistry of the cast just made the whole thing shine. And so I think that's a really good comp for that as well. And, look, I also really love gray characters. Morally gray, I mean. And so I'm also just going to toss out Moon Lovers, because I've watched it recently and it's on my brain a lot. And I thought that was a comp too, because there we have a son who's got daddy and mommy issues, who does a lot of morally bankrupt things. Yet somehow you watch him, love him, and are like, Mommy, I want one, buy him for me.
Yeah, so... I mean, God, I agree with everything you said. I haven't had this much fun watching a drama in, like, a very long time. So it doesn't take itself too seriously. That's number one in my book. Like, I like that. And it feels very self-aware. And it's also sexy as fuck. Like, every episode has something off the wall happening. Like Porsche peeing into a pond and killing the eldest mafia son's pet carps, to Porsche hotboxing Kinn after sex. It was so random. Like, I almost feel like that was maybe improvised and they just kept it in.
I think so, because I mean, like, who was like, yes, clearly what we need to do is have some post-sex hotboxing.
Right, like,
or no,
like, who put that in the script?
Wasn't he, like, going down on him and then he did...
I don't know. Yeah. So just, you know, it's like he farted under the covers and then covered them with... That's what hotboxing is.
Kinn, it wasn't post-sex. Kinn was getting ready to go down on him.
Oh, that's it. Okay. Yeah, who does that? Like, how is that in the script?
And it's still hot. Well, that's not hot. But, I mean, like, the drama in general is still hot, and I don't even know why.
I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, I was massively entertained and rooting for all the romances. I agree that a lot of the characters were morally gray. And I think that the drama presented them that way, without making excuses for their behavior. So when they did bad things, the drama was like, yeah, I mean, they're pretty bad. They're like mafia guys. And I was like, good, like, great, you know what I mean? It didn't seem to make excuses for them, and I really enjoyed that.
In fact, it made very little excuses. Like, people are just dying all the time.
It's so funny. Like, not funny,
no, I
but
mean,
it's
like, they could kill, like, 50 people before breakfast, and you're just like, whatever. Yeah. They're like, you just stepped on some ants.
Right. One thing that was kind of playing throughout the drama that I really liked is they were always watching Bad and Crazy, which is the Lee Dong-wook drama that is also on the app, the iQIYI app. And I really love that they were, like, promoting Bad and Crazy, like, within the drama. The oldest mafia son, Tang-kun, was always watching Bad and Crazy, and it was very funny. And I haven't seen Bad and Crazy, but part of me wonders if that's a comp. I mean, Bad and Crazy would be like could be the title of KinnPorsche. So it could
be a good comp.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of motorcycles, there's a lot of fighting, and I think there's humor too in Bad and Crazy. So I don't know, maybe that would work. But overall, heck yeah, I recommend it to everyone because it's just that much fun. So let's talk about the main couple and the show's namesake, Kinn and Porsche. So first of all, who would you prefer to be handcuffed to while on the run from assassins? Because yes, this was a plot line. Of course, they were they were running from assassins, handcuffed to each other. So first they were in a jungle, and then I don't know, they had them like leave the jungle, and then they were in like, you know, like cliffs. I don't know. Either way, they just had them handcuffed to each other for like a full episode.
Yeah, and it was during a time that they were both running from feelings, so handcuffing them was perfect.
It was genius. It was actually genius.
Okay, so this is a hard choice because I love them both for different reasons. But I actually, like, had to lay on my bed and mull this over, and I'm not even kidding, before I gave it my answer. And my final answer is Porsche. And I went practical, and here's why. I think ultimately Kinn is more cunning, and he's been chased and shot at a lot longer by assassins. But Porsche really is just, like, a person that operates on pure instinct, and he does not tend to overthink. So, look, I trust him to think up some crazy shit on the spot, and I'll likely be doing things like jumping onto moving trains or swimming through a sewer, but he's going to keep me alive. And ultimately, you know, the thing is that, like, on a crush level, I think I do feel more drawn to, like, that Kinn, poor little rich boy full of emotional damage, in terms of, like, what's going to make me swoon the most. But Porsche's also just really frickin' hot. And so...
Ugh. So hot.
So just for some shallowness, like, that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Porsche would keep me alive longer. And I love him. He's fun as hell, but I just went, I don't know, maybe like Wout van Aert has me hot or something, but handcuff me to Kinn with his, like, massive eyebrows. You called him, like, Bert and Ernie eyebrows. They are. They're huge,
but they're
and I love them.
sexy in this, like, unexpected
They're so
way.
sexy. Yeah. And his, like, pillowy pectorals and his, like, sexy grin.
Those pectorals are on display a lot. Not as much as Porsche's. So Porsche was normally shirtless, whereas Kinn was like that, like, V opened down to his navel chest. Yeah.
Always. He never wore a shirt buttoned up, ever. And I just loved him. Like, will he keep me alive? I don't know. But I will absolutely starve at the jungle with eye candy, and, like, what a way to go. So, yeah, please, like, handcuff me to Kinn half naked at the bottom of our waterfall. Who needs food? Who needs it? So, yeah, speaking of KinnPorsche, let's talk about their chemistry. I mean, yes, we felt it. So, you know, what was a favorite scene of yours? And just, yeah, let's talk about it.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say, obviously, they have chemistry. They have a freaking, like, nuclear reaction when they're together. So the moment, like, I have so many faves, and so I can't choose. It's like choosing children. It's just impossible for me. So I'm just going to choose the moment where I decided I was all in, because I did not seek this drama out. This drama sought me out. So, you know, you were talking about it for a while, and you were like, hey, I'm going to wait to watch it till it's all out, because I want to, like, binge hard. And then one of our listeners and friends of the pod, Allison, started just messaging me on, like, a campaign that, like, daily basis was like, are you watching? Here's clips and reels. Are you watching? Are you watching? I'm like, I don't want to get another app to watch. And I'm like, finally I was like, fine. I'm just diving in. I'm diving in ahead of Megan even. I'm just going to start watching it. Whatever. Like, just doing it. And it took me until episode 2. I mean, I liked it in episode 1. But it took me until episode 2 until I turned into, like, a rabid, frothing monster for this show. And here's why. So, basically, like, the setup is, you know, Porsche is contracted as Kinn's bodyguard. He's not very motivated to succeed in his new gig. You know, he's very petulant. He's quite arrogant. He's petty. It's still all very hot, though, and charming. But honestly, Kinn is all those things as well, just in more of, like, an emotionally damaged and brooding kind of way. And so these two are, like, rubbing up against each other in this, like, enemies to lovers way, and the sparks are just, like, constantly flying. So Kinn is doing what any mafia heir son is going to do when he's got a little bit of R&R, and he's at a shooting range, just, like, blasting, you know, paper targets with some of his besties. And he's like, ugh, I'm, like, bored shooting these paper targets. Porsche, go get me an apple. So Porsche, like, shuffles off, like, ugh, God, like Napoleon Dynamite.
He's
yeah,
so annoyed.
And he gets the fruit, and Kinn's like, go out there, and he's like, where do you want me to put the apple? And Kinn's like, put it on top of your head. And you can see Porsche is like, the fuck? And, like, the friends are like, haha, you're so funny, Kinn. And he's like, no, I'm not kidding, put it on top of your head, or are you scared? And so, of course, it's just, like, so over the top. And Porsche is just like, you know, FML, I'm not backing down to this bitch. And he, like, puts the apple on top of his head. And he, like, barely gets it on top of his head. Like, he sets it down, and Kinn just doesn't even, like, take aim. He just lifts his gun up and is like, boom. And it happens so fast. And Porsche doesn't even flinch as, like, apple pieces are just flying all over him. And then Kinn's, and it's just, like, this, like, hot moment where you're both, like, they are both crazy, and they are both crazy for each other, and this is going to be amazing. And Kinn, like, doesn't even react to Porsche being so cool about it. He's like, I'm gonna go eat, and, like, leaves. And then you see Porsche, like, keeps it together, like, no reaction until he has, like, a second to himself, and then his knees just give out, and he's like, holy shit.
I love
And
that.
yeah,
So
as
great.
soon as I saw that, I was just like, you son of a bitch, like, I'm in on this.
Yeah. It gave, like, they were just, the script was just so good with these characters, because they found a way to make them very cool and, you know, like, skilled, but then humanize them too. Like, because you think, oh my god, Porsche is so cool that he just stood there. But then they show you that glimpse of him, like, behind
Shitting his
like,
pants,
you know,
yeah.
when he's finally alone. Yeah, like, he wanted to shit his pants because it was
Scary.
that terrifying. Oh, and I totally agree. That scene is so good. It is so
And it's also, like, competency porn, because I'm like, Kinn barely even, like, looks at the apple. Like, the apple goes on his head, and he's like, bang.
Hot as hell. Kinn does that a lot, where he just, like, raises his hand and, like, shoots people. I mean, just, you know, he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, he
you
could
know?
be, like, eating a sandwich and talking to someone and just, like, taking out people, like, with perfect precision.
Yeah, Kinn is definitely, like, a mafioso.
But this is Thai drama land, not real life. So in real life, we do not condone randomly playing, you know, William Tell with folks or eating sandwiches and committing murder.
Oh yeah, this drama was so far. It felt like a fantasy land. You know, it was just not of this world. It was like a different world where there's, like, different rules, and that's
you
kind
must
of what
be gay
makes
to be in the mafia, because everyone in the mafia is gay.
Oh my god, that's the thing. Everyone was gay,
which was amazing. Like, I loved it.
Amazing.
But it really was just everyone. I was like, it's the Republicans' worst fears come true that the gay mafia is out.
The gay mafia. They were all gay. Yeah, so like Leah said, they were explosive. Their sex scenes were truly out of this world. I think I've seen Kinn's O-face, like, more than my husband's. I swear to God. And they weren't just sexy together. They had chemistry, like, in conversations and in silence. Like, they just really had an innate chemistry that you couldn't fabricate. And I've seen them in interviews, too, and it's similar to there. But their eyes really spoke volumes to each other. So I don't know who's responsible for, like, casting these two together, but they are definitely going to heaven. And, okay, so for a favorite scene, this is really hard because I love them a lot. I would say my favorite scenes between them are the ones that are kind of in the beginning half of the drama, where Kinn is absolutely fighting his feelings for Porsche. Like, I think he knows he's attracted to Porsche.
Because
and I think he's
any
been, like,
human with eyeballs is attracted to Porsche.
Right, but I think he starts out having this, like, begrudging, like, respect for Porsche, and then he starts to really fall for Porsche, and I think he hates it. I mean, there's obviously a backstory where he's been hurt in the past. He actually had a bodyguard who, like, used him and betrayed him, who he had fallen in love with, so he didn't want to make the same mistake.
And then his bad boy cousin humps everyone he's ever liked.
Everyone. Yeah, that's another thing. But, I mean, so I really loved a lot of those scenes because there's a lot of Kinn, he's trying to protect Porsche. Like, there's a scene where they go to this guy's house and they're, like, beating him up because he's, you know, he has a debt to them. And Kinn can see that it bothers Porsche. He doesn't want, because, you know, Porsche had seen that, like, when he was younger. His uncle had been beat up when he was in debt. So Kinn tells Porsche, like, he can leave. He doesn't have to watch it. Which is, like, you know, obviously unusual. And then when they're done beating this guy up, they're, like, out on his, like, you know, driveway or whatever. And he comes out, he's all bloody, and he's like, ah, and he has a gun. And he shoots. at the bodyguards. And remember, Kinn, he covers Porsche, he shoves him out of the way.
He bodyguards his bodyguard.
And bodyguards his bodyguard. And he shoots the guy himself, because I also think he doesn't want Porsche to have to shoot him. And so Porsche gets a little flesh wound on his arm from the other guy's gun, but it's the point where you see Kinn, his first instinct is to protect Porsche. And that shows up later. I know, it's so great. It's so great. And you can tell I think Kinn is almost surprised at his own reaction, at his own instinct, which is to protect Porsche, and it's just, it's so freaking good. But their relationship was not like all sunshine and rainbows. Basically, KinnPorsche had a lot of scenes where consent was not clear, and we've talked about consent a lot of times on this podcast. So Porsche was drunk during their first kiss, and he was actually drugged, not by Kinn, but he was drugged during their first sex scene. I mean, he was like semi-lucid, I guess. So, yeah. So what did you think about these scenes in contrast to how consent did play a large role in like the later stages of their relationship?
Yeah, so if you're looking to get behind a drama where everything is on the up and up and there is no dubious consent or even non-consent, this may not be the drama for you. But however, I feel like, look, it threads the needle that you might just need to trust it, and I don't know how else to say it, because like,
yeah.
I'm not deep in Thai boy love drama land. Like, I've watched, a few. I enjoy it, but I'm not like hyped to like, a lot of the behind the scenes, like scandals and dramas. And I do know that there's quite a few that float around this drama in particular. And it seems to hinge a lot on the fact that the source material has a lot more overt non-consent and basically like sexual assault triggers. Like, I believe that there might even be, like, gun to the head sex between some of the characters. I'm not sure. I don't think that's KinnPorsche. But, I believe that, like, it's a lot more coercive in the book itself. So, the production company, Beyond Cloud, appears to have accepted, like, hey, there's a lot of problematic stuff in this story. We can't, like, throw out all the bathwater, but we're going to try to make it, like, a little bit of a, like, maybe part of a character arc. So, yeah, at the beginning, we see, we see that drug kind of more like non-consent, where, Kinn is obviously attracted to Porsche. And in the book, I believe Kinn is meant to be much more of an asshole in the book. I feel like the drama, I know he's meant to be an asshole. I just never really felt his assholeness, because, like, I felt like he was like, I don't know, I'm an idiot, and I'm like, he's a damaged bad boy. So, like, excuses.
Right. I feel like they showed enough. Yeah, I feel like they showed enough of him early on that you weren't just like, ugh, how are they going to redeem him? Like, I actually did see glimpses of redemption early on.
Yeah, very early on to me. So, But I felt like, when they were handcuffed together, we see them, like, in the waterfall, and Kinn, like, asks him for a hug before going in. And then, I just want to talk about the handjob scene to end all handjob scenes. I mean, nobody should ever just give a handjob again, like, in the world, because it's been done.
You gotta see this scene.
And, so the setup is Porsche and bad boy but hot as Hades' cousin, Vegas, which, perfect name, by the way,
Yes.
And his shirt, 100%. I believe, is even like 2 buttons lower than Kinn at all times. So they've taken out some Italians in like a mafia war, and they're out on the town celebrating. And look, I was like, as I was talking about this consent, I went back and watched it, and I'm like, okay, we still have some dubious consent, because Porsche's also really drunk. Although he sobers up apparently quickly. So he's pretty drunk. Does. And Vegas' whole MO is, like, he is from, like, the minor mafia family. He's cousins to Kinn. And to fuck with Kinn forever, he is always trying to get with, like, the guys that Kinn likes. So, Porsche's no exception. And I believe he actually likes Porsche, but not, like, in a very deeply romantic way. He's just, like, he's hot, and I'm gonna, like, get with him and then, like, fuck over my cousin. So he, like, gets him into a bathroom and starts putting the moves on Porsche. And Kinn busts in and is big mad. and like pulls guns with Kinn or with Vegas. You see Vegas has his gun out, and then he's like, ugh, I can't shoot the like mafia son, and so he's like, fuck, and takes off.
Kinn's like, do you see my ring? Because he's got like, a major family
Oh, that's
ring.
so hot too. Yeah, do you see the
that's
ring?
That's a really hot
Yeah,
scene.
yeah, that is hot because the ring. Yeah. Oh God, I forgot about that. I just needed a moment because that just was hot. Okay, so basically, Kinn is pissed and jealous, and he's not good at articulating feelings of like being hurt. So he basically just tells Porsche, and like the translation is basically like, I didn't realize you were so slutty. And the minute he sees how much that statement hurts Porsche, he falls up.
Because Porsche slaps him.
Yeah, slaps him and starts to like stalk out. And his little look on his muffin face, like he's not just pissed, he's like truly wounded. And you know, Kinn just falls apart like a house of cards on a windy day. Like, he bear hugs Porsche from behind, kind of like wrestles him up against a mirror, apologizes, which is like a big turning point too. And he really is sorry. That's the thing. He realized, like, I was a dick. Like, that did go too far. And Porsche kind of forgives him in this, like, intense hug-it-out moment, but, like, without words. So, again, like, the consent dubious, but, like, the body language is, like, you see anger to, like, apology to, like, forgiveness. Then Porsche turns around, and Kinn waits, making this, like, almost unbearable level of eye contact. Like, they're just staring into each other's eyes, and it feels uncomfortable to be watching.
Yes, you feel like a total voyeur watching the scene, because you're like, they're totally gonna do it.
And then Kinn, like, waits until whatever he needs to see in Porsche's face, and you see him give this little nod, like, I get it, I understand that, like, now it's okay. And then he just decides to go ahead with, like, the most savagely intimate mutual handjob scene that's like probably ever graced the small screen.
Oh my god.
Like, I mean, like, I'm still not sure they didn't do it. I know they didn't. I know they didn't. I know. I mean, like, look, I want to be really I am aware this is acting and theater, and like, you know, I appreciate the characters for what they are. I'm just saying it was like that feeling of being a voyeur was so prevalent. Like, I had to like hide my eyes.
Yeah, I was like, I can't believe this is happening on screen. I remember just staring at the screen and then it was like over, and I was like, what? I can't believe that just happened. I can't believe that was on a drama. This is amazing.
Porsche licking his hand.
Oh god, I forgot about that.
It was a lot. By the way, this is a podcast that I've already, because my daughter listens to some, and I was like, this isn't one you're gonna listen to, which is fine. Like, she like respects, she knows when it's too much for her, but I was like 100%
right,
this is like mature rating.
Yeah, I mean, what was funny is they have scenes like this, but then they didn't let them swear.
Right.
Only Vegas swore.
You can O-face, like, I mean, you can O-face with like your nose pressed against the camera as you're like shuddering out your like numerous climaxes.
Right. But don't say fuck.
Like, look, we have. You have
to say freaking or flippin', whatever they did. They had to keep saying it was. I think Vegas was the only one who actually like swore, which I'm like, thank God. Vegas was funny too.
Vegas. We'll get to.
We'll get to Vegas. Okay, so yeah, I mean, the first sex scene is like 100% problematic. So that's when Kinn was like slightly drugged, and I remember Leah was like, Megan, this is like full on like thrusting. I saw butt cheeks. This is like against a window. Like this is
over the city.
Like, she was like, this is no joke, and I was like, okay, now I'm watching it, and I'm not gonna wait till it airs live. So, but I mean, was it like absolutely hot? Like, yes. So mainly because like these two men are both a little problematic, and the drama didn't make excuses for it. They didn't like have the drug sex then act like it was fine. Like, Kinn knew he did Porsche wrong on many occasions and apologized for it. So we got these like problematic first scenes where they were fighting this attraction, and Kinn did not ask for consent, and I don't think he wanted to ask for consent. I think he wanted to be that asshole. He wanted to pretend that he was only sort of like attracted to Porsche on a physical level when he really was falling for him all the way. So one thing we mentioned was like Porsche didn't really want to be a bodyguard. He was basically forced into it. He didn't have consent to be. He didn't really
consent.
Yeah, poor Porsche didn't consent, so he didn't really consent.
But here's the one thing, just as like a quick side note. Porsche was also, from episode 1, having drunk, hetero sex in, like, alleyways, drunk with drunk people. So it wasn't like he, like, was this little perfect angel. Like, his consent track record was not
Yeah, he's like an underground fighter getting beat up. Like, that's what I'm saying. Porsche wasn't like this, like, goody two-shoes in any way, shape, or form. So, I mean, what's interesting is so obviously a lot of that happened, like, in the earlier episodes. So, yeah, he didn't even have consent to be, like, he didn't really want to be a bodyguard. And then we mentioned the whole, like, handcuffed episode. So that was when they're on the run from basically assassins. They would have both been killed if they were caught. They're handcuffed together. And at one point they are, like, stuck in this, like, rock crevice. They can't get out. And they really have this kind of, like, heart-to-heart. And Kinn basically says, like, I know I really hurt you in, like, so many ways. And he didn't come right out and say, like, I basically sexually assaulted you. But he was like, I hurt you. And, like, I know I did wrong. And I'm sorry. And it was actually like, oh, my God, there's, like, a guy saying I'm sorry. And, like, I mean, he just laid it all out there. And they really came to some sort of truce. And when they managed to get out of this crevice, Kinn said to Porsche, I know you never really wanted this. I know you don't really want to be my bodyguard, so run away. Leave. Just run away. Go have a good life. I'll tell everyone that you died. Like, we'll never come after you. Just go. He sets him free. And, that's kind of like an important, I mean, there's obviously times in books or, in romance genre or whatever, where you do have sort of scenes where, like, one of the characters is forced into doing something else, and there always is that kind of, like, revelation where you then give them a choice to, like, leave or come back. Like, that is kind of common, and they did it, and they did it in a really smart way. So Porsche, he, like, turns to leave, remember? And then he, like, kind of gets this look on his face, like, and he turns around, and he runs back to Kinn, and they have this, like, kiss. And it's amazing.
And it's a Porsche initiated.
It's a Porsche initiated kiss. Porsche's feeling for Kinn, because obviously during this handcuff thing, they were able to, like, talk, and Kinn kind of dropped the asshole act, and so Porsche really got to know him more. And then he flees. And so Kinn is, like, standing there all alone, crying, and then all of a sudden these, like, assassins come out of the dark. And Porsche runs back with, like, a knife? Right?
Yeah, I mean, just
whatever, doesn't matter. Porsche runs back with a knife, and he's, like, trying to kill them. And he's standing in front of Kinn, and one of the guys shoots a gun, and of course Kinn once again steps in front of Porsche and gets shot. And he lives, of course. But the whole point is...
Porsche is really kind of like the worst bodyguard.
Oh, he is. He's a terrible...
I'm kidding.
Terrible bodyguard.
He's amazing, but, like, yeah, his client is constantly the one saving his own life.
So I would say, like, that whole thing, because then, Kinn is recovering, and Porsche, like, crawls into his hospital bed with him, and they're, like, cuddling, and it's really freaking cute. And that's, like, a whole turning point. It was like that. It felt to me like there was a very intentional shift in the drama, in the writing, to show, okay, so all that happened before, we recognize that was, like, extremely problematic, but now, we've had apologies. Porsche, for once, was able to consent to something, and going forward, it's going to change. And it did. And so... Yeah,
their power dynamic...
completely changed.
Yeah.
And to me, I loved that. Like, to me, it felt... God, so smart. It really, really, truly did. Because, they're mushy and in love, and now things are totally different. So, I mean, at one point, they're, like, fighting about something, and Porsche Kinn tries to, like, grab him and, like, hug him tight, and Porsche says, no, don't touch me. And Kinn right away backs up, puts his hands up, does not touch Kinn. Or, I'm sorry, Kinn does not touch Porsche until Porsche, says, okay, now it's okay. And this actually happened, like, a few times. Later in the drama, there's a scene where Porsche is upset, when learning the truth about his parents' deaths. And Kinn clearly wants to hold Porsche, and the camera even like kind of zooms in on his like fingers, and they're like twitching because he's like aching to touch his boyfriend.
Yeah, Kinn's love language is physical
Absolutely,
touch.
but he also recognizes that it's not always appreciated, and now he's waiting. He waits for consent now, and and he maintains a distance until Porsche basically crumbles and then accepts the touch,
invites him in.
Yeah.
And I'd say that like when their power dynamic shifts, we're going to talk later about other couples and power dynamics, but in this one I'd say that neither of them ever, like, once the power dynamic shifts, I'd say it becomes an equal partnership, which is also really interesting. Like, I don't think one has more power than the other.
Right. I mean, I don't think so. Between them, it's like it's really special. I mean, I love them. I really love the shift in this like dynamics of their relationship, and it just man, I love them. And it made me happy that the drama took it in that direction with them.
Yeah, they became like dad and dad, like, there was all this other messy stuff happening, and I was like, I feel like I can always rely on the two of you. You've worked out your crazy shit. Obviously there's more to come, but like I truly believe there's like this like warm, deep love, firm foundation here that you built in not that many episodes either.
Yeah. Ugh, I love them. But yep, totally agree. And now it's time for our favorite segment of the week. It's our K-pop rec. And this week we have Leah.
So I'm excited to make a K-pop rec this week. And I want to talk about J-Hope from BTS. And he has recently released his first official solo album. So not a mixtape, but an album that's got kind of like the full power of his company behind him. And that's called Jack in the Box. And it's this concept album that is based in the Greek myth of Pandora's box, which, just as a quick mythological reminder, is, Pandora is given a box, told not to open it. She does open it, and all the baddie things in the world come out. But the last thing in the box that remains is hope. So, J-Hope, there we go. And the song I wanted to recommend is actually Arson. So it's kind of like the big anthem on the album. So More was released first as a music video. I also really like that, but Arson just dropped. And I'd say that kind of is this like big anchoring song. It ends the mixtape, and it kind of captures J-Hope's story of like being at the crossroads and like existential crisis, and basically like the ultimate will to like kind of like pull through that moment. And I really enjoy it, and it's fun, and it's kind of like a good hype song too.
I just want to add that I liked More a lot, but Arson is so good. I really, really like it, and the music video is really badass.
Yeah, so badass.
If you enjoy our podcast, you have our patrons to thank, at least in part. Afternoona Delight Patreon allows us to keep creating content for y'all to enjoy. Thank you so much to everyone who is supporting us there. And not to brag, but our Patreon community is pretty awesome. And you can join at a tier that feels good to you. Gain access to fun perks like K-drama posts, monthly Patreon-only bonus podcasts, and even a live K-drama support group on Zoom. Because we know firsthand what it's like to have no one to talk to about those crazy plot twists, amazing characters, and all those feelings. And look, no one should have to walk that walk alone. So learn more by visiting afternoonadelight.com. That's www.afternoonadelight.com. And hey, while you're on the website, you can check out Afternoona Delight podcast merch, find links to book recommendations, bop along to our K-pop recs, glow up your skin with K merch recs, find all of our social media, and a link to our email so you can send us recommendations or feedback. And hey, while you're at it, why don't you pop over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review? It really helps with our discoverability. 감사합니다.
Okay, so speaking of consent, let's talk about Vegas and Pete. One of the side romances which became a fan favorite for like a lot of good reasons. So Vegas, as we talked about, he's the eldest son of the Minor family. So basically, his father is the younger brother of Kinn's father. So as we mentioned, he and Kinn are cousins. And the relationship between the Major and Minor family was like a little murky to me. I didn't quite fully understand it, but essentially they were almost always in competition and battling. So Pete is a lovable bodyguard for the Major family, and he's a friend to Porsche. So yeah. Oh, and one thing about Vegas, it's great. Like, he will randomly speak in English. He speaks really great English, but it's just funny because you don't know in the show. Like, he'll just randomly say a few lines in English out of nowhere, and I just really love this. Yeah. So, Leah, especially, what do you need to get off your chest about Vegas and Pete? Because I know that you are, like, captain of this ship.
Yeah, I really feel like I am. And, okay, so Vegas for me, as I was watching the drama, because I hadn't read any of the source material. I tried to stay away from any of the spoiler talks. So I just kind of was like, Vegas is, like, obviously attractive, but he's kind of just, like, this, like, very unredeemable, just, like, bad guy, And I was, like, almost to the point where I was starting to get a little bored with him because he was just so fucking bad and just kept
and
making,
like, a little one note at the beginning.
Yeah, definitely one note, just constantly like a thorn in Kinn's side, showing up with like the exes, just like, you were like, okay, here's Vegas again to like cause some conflict with Porsche, or to like, show that he's been humping like the not dead ex-boyfriend, just lots of like, okay, like Vegas is around, Vegas is a bad guy, Vegas's dick is a bad guy, like, yeah. That was Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was not expecting him to steal the fucking show from me in the second half. Yeah. So, okay, Pete is Kinn's favorite non-Porsche bodyguard, basically.
Yeah.
And he goes on a mission to Vegas's house to search for evidence of their family's disloyalty and corruption. And instead, he gets caught by Vegas. And he gets tortured by Vegas. And by that, I mean he gets tied to a post and gets his ballsack electrocuted.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's just what the hell?
And I was just like, wait a second, because
the lights
like
are flickering.
Yeah, the lights are flickering. It shouldn't be hot to pull out like electrodes and like, or what, it's like jumper cables.
It's like...
And so we see this happening, and like Vegas is just like obviously like a fucking twisted, and you're like, oh, okay. I thought he was a bad guy. I didn't realize he was like a fucked up bad guy.
Right.
And then you're like, and Pete has been like kind of sunshine and rainbows, like very happy-go-lucky, like kind of adorably cute. And all of a sudden you're just like, ooh, like you've got some weirdness going on here too. Like, what's going on? So as his ball sack's getting like electrocuted, I'm not going to say he enjoyed it, but there was like, I was also like, oh my gosh, I think we're having like some masochistic tendencies coming out.
There's something going on.
And Vegas is realizing this, and we're having some sort of like exchange. And then we have talked about this in some of the previous like just bantering in other podcasts. In the background, okay, first the lighting, every time Vegas has to do anything sexual, and this only happens with Vegas, the lighting gets either like red or like moody club, like green and purple.
Yes,
because this doesn't happen when Kinn and Porsche hook up, only Vegas.
Only Vegas.
And then we see there's a hedgehog just like kind of on like a back shelf with a bunch of sexual torture instruments. There's a hedgehog in a bird cage, just like living its life. And so you're just like, wait, what? So, okay. That one is when I was like, I like the apple kind of like got me at the beginning. All of a sudden, like the like weird sexual exchange over the the jumper cables to the balls. I was like, look, I don't know. I hate myself, I guess, but I am like way into this, and there's a hedgehog.
Yeah.
So, and I think part of the compelling thing is that these characters aren't who they seem at face value. Because, like I said, Pete is really kind of this, like, sunshine and rainbows bodyguard, even though he, like, shoots a bunch of fucking people all the time. But I feel like he also can look into the darkness of the human condition, it turns out, and he can find it compelling, intriguing, and maybe a little sexy. And Vegas is, like, over the top in everything, in clothing, in attitude, in murdering. And, like, he really does seem just unredeemable until we learn that inside him is just this little marshmallow who wants to be number one to somebody. Because he's, like, not number one in terms of the family. He's not number one in terms of the cousins. He's not even, like, number one to his dad. No, he just wants to be number one.
He's got major daddy issues, like the king of daddy issues.
I mean, yeah, I thought Kinn had some daddy issues, and I was like, oh no, Kinn's got like a pretty good relationship with his dad compared to Vegas and Gunn. And and Vegas Pete's the one who is able to articulate to Vegas in a way that I think helps him start to make some sense of his daddy issues, in saying that, like, Gunn has never been number one in the family. Like, his big brother Korn has, like, always been, like, the oldest. He's the head of the major family. He gets everything. So the dad is constantly just like, ugh, like, and has gotten, like, worse and worse because of it, and now takes that out on Vegas. And now Vegas kind of is like repeating the cycle with Kinn, and like Pete kind of makes that observation, and you see Vegas have this like aha moment, although they're having this as like Pete is a captive quasi-sexual slave with the hedgehog. The hedgehog's being treated better, actually.
Yes.
And Vegas is like, but I mean, what do I say when I'm like, look, the first time he had to feed Pete, who he is keeping as a pet now, and chained in a sex bedroom, he pushes his face in a bowl of food like Napoleon Dynamite feeding that llama, like, eat, Tina, eat your food. And then we know that, like, the things have pivoted when we see Vegas making a bowl of carefully thought out ramen noodles that he knows that Pete likes, and bringing it to him and being like, look, you can, like, eat it out of a bowl with, like, some chopsticks.
Except his dad ruins it.
He does. He ruins it. But, like, you're seeing the emotional growth, and I'm like, oh, so for me, I'm like, apparently this is emotional growth, that he's not shoving his face into the bowl of food, and he's instead preparing it for him like a human, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so romantic.
I know, right? But that's like my standards for this drama. I'm like, oh, fantastic.
So, like, I mean, I know I sound like an effed up person, but I think if you're listening at this point, like, you might like it too. And I don't. Sometimes, and I mean, I think this drama's given me permission to realize that in these, like, weird fantasy spaces, again, stuff that, like, just is not a good idea in real life and is illegal and is probably going to put you in prison, can be seen as, like, romantic and fun in, like, fantasy land.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, so the way they took, like, the kind of like Kinn and Porsche, but the way they took, like, the power imbalance of this relationship and, like, flipped it was pretty spectacular. I mean, look, they start with Pete tied up and tortured. Okay, they electrocuted his balls, or Vegas did. He, like, beat him with a belt. I mean, Vegas has all the power. He's got him chained up in a bedroom in his underwear. And he kind of is like, you're my pet. You're my pet. I'm bored, so I'm keeping you because you're my pet.
Yep.
And, so I would say at least Vegas thinks he has all the power. Because Pete really is cracking him. And by, really giving Vegas the time of day that no one else did, and really talking to him and giving him, like, helping Vegas understand why he's so angry. And when they finally do have sex, it's consensual. So, it's a really kind of beautiful montage. Of course, it's like, sexy mood lighting in this torture dungeon.
And, like, there's, like, a wrench hanging on the wall.
Oh, it's ridiculous. So, but Pete actually hands Vegas the rope to tie his hands. Like, he gives him the power. It's very symbolic. And in the end, Vegas is left with pretty much nothing by the end of the drama. His father has died, and he's no longer, like, the heir to the minor family. Essentially, like, his minor family is now gone. So he's just
like a bad, ill-advised uprising.
Oh, it's terrible. And so, like, everyone died. And this is actually a really interesting scene because Vegas sees that his father died. He knows. He knows he's got nothing. and he like tries to run out of the major family's house, and Pete follows him and like stops him outside. And this is kind of a really interesting scene, and I thought the dialogue was really great because Pete basically gets on his knees and says, "I'm hungry." And because they're kind of carrying over that whole like pet
feeding
thing, because he's like, "I'm hungry, and I'm your pet, so you need to feed me." And Pete's like crying. I'm not acting it out, obviously, but Pete's crying, but it's like his way of saying like, I'm yours, and like, you're mine. Yeah, because Vegas kind of turns around and he's like, "Well, can't someone else feed you?" Meaning like, can't you just like go to someone else? Can't someone else love you? And Pete's just like, "No, it needs to be you. You're the one who has to feed me." It's interesting because they're kind of talking in code. And that's when Vegas... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, and I was going to say, and I think, okay, so we're going to get into the hedgehog in a minute, but just like we saw, and you made the good point of Porsche leaving, although Kinn gave consent to Porsche to leave, after, like in the handcuff scene, and then like Porsche comes back. So when the hedgehog is dying, Vegas leaves the sex dungeon bedroom, and Pete's able to like finagle his own escape. So he gets free of his chains, and he's like, he's in his underwear, bloody and battered, and is like, "I gotta get the fuck out of here." And he's about to like take off into the night when he just sees like Vegas sitting in the yard holding his dead hedgehog and crying, and you see him hesitate, and then he consensually decides to get recaptured, basically. And so there is like that sense too of like he does, and that's before they have sex. And so I think that that's something that we can see from like the production company BOC, is that like before some of the major like emotional lift that happens between characters, we do see there's like these moments of more clear consent.
Yeah, and it's really great. It's really smart. I mean, I really love that, like, that ending scene with Pete and Vegas. I mean, unfortunately, then he gets filled with bullets.
Vegas, yeah. I thought Vegas. I was like, if Vegas is dead,
me too.
I'm fucking done. Like, KinnPorsche is dead to me.
So thank God he's not dead. And, in the next scene, he's like recovering, in bed. And of course, who's there? He has a younger brother named Macau. But, Pete's there taking care of him. And Vegas basically is like, "You can leave. I'm going to be a burden to you. I have nothing. I am no one." And Pete's like, "I'm staying.
I have waffles and Swiss cheese."
Yeah. And it's like kind of great because, Vegas is just like, "Look, you mean everything to me. You're the most important person in my life." And I think for Vegas to like make that sort of confession to someone is huge character growth, especially after he went from electrocuting his balls. Just, as I say, you have to trust us on this journey.
Balls. I think the ball electrocution may still very much come into play between them, and I hope it does, but I hope it is in a safe and consensual way.
You just have to trust us.
Yeah.
It sounds crazy, but...
Yeah, Vegas's like torture dungeon, I don't believe is going anywhere. I think Pete likes the torture dungeon, but Pete also wants to feel like, we're going to choose to do torture dungeon time, and then we're going to, like, not. Like, I just don't want to be, like, in the torture dungeon forever just because you're fucked up. Like, I want to, like, actively select into those moments. And Pete also takes a big risk because Pete is, like, the beloved bodyguard of Kinn's family. And he, like, leaves to, like, be with Vegas in the end. And the other thing that they don't touch on, and I don't think they're going to just because, look, it's problematic as well, is, like, Vegas kills, like, basically a ton of bodyguards who are all, like, Pete's, like, brothers in arms. Like, Chan
oh my God.
goes down. Like,
don't even get me started. He comes in, he just kills all these people with a semi-automatic.
Yeah, and, like, Vegas and Pete's, like, I mean, whatever. Like, look, all a day's work.
Yeah.
All of my, like, coworkers are dead.
Just doing your job.
Like, it's okay. Look, I'm still all in.
Oh, God. So, yeah, we gotta talk about the hedgehog just a little bit. So, did we want better than a rusty birdcage in a sex dungeon for Vegas's hedgehog? Yes or no?
So, was it rusty? Look, I feel like at least it was full of, like, well-chopped tropical fruit. Like, he diced those little niblets.
He did.
But the problem is that the hedgehog did not die a particularly comfortable death. So ultimately, I think he probably deserves something a smidge more healthy and nurturing. like maybe a habitat with access to proper sunlight.
Right. Not a dungeon. So it was funny. So when we first saw this hedgehog, Leah and I were losing our shit. Okay, because again, it's the first time they show the hedgehog is in just a brief pan in one episode, and that's it. That's all we get of. But right away, I was like, "There's a fucking hedgehog in there!" Like I latched onto that, and it was so funny because Leah also latched onto the hedgehog. So together we were obsessed with this hedgehog.
And look, I get the metaphor, like somebody, because we've been like laughing about it, and people have been like, "Look, the metaphor is that it's like Vegas, and he's spiky on the outside, but like soft underneath." I'm like, yes. Look, I get it.
We get it. Okay,
but it's still a hedgehog in a bird cage.
It's still in a sex dungeon. So as much as you want to play, sure, the metaphor's great, but it's still fucking weird. But I remember thinking, we're never going to get an explanation on this hedgehog. And I was like, truly, I just thought it was going to be just a random. Well, that's another thing too, because at first I didn't actually think they were going to like have a reason for the hedgehog. So I
thought it was just a background shot of the electrocuted scene.
Right,
but
and I was like, what intern decided to go get a hedgehog?
Yeah, no, the hedgehog is way more intentional, because after the electrocution scene, Vegas's dad interrupts him torturing Pete's balls, and is like, basically like, I don't know, you're a little bitch, smack, smack, smack. Yeah. And so Vegas decides... Oh, and Vegas has to go to a safe house. And so what do you bring to the safe house? You bring your pets.
Yeah, which is Pete and the hedgehog.
Yeah.
And he's like hand feeding the hedgehog. And so the hedgehog...
And the bird cage. So was it like Vegas running out in the dark with they didn't show that, but with a bird cage?
Can you imagine if they did show him running out with a bird cage in one hand and just dragging Pete on the chains?
Oh my god.
But, so anyway, thank God they actually gave us background to the hedgehog, because that was honestly just fantastic. And then just watching, like, Vegas crying over his hedgehog. But it was, like, so weird. He's like, my dad always gives me hedgehogs, and I'm supposed to take care of them and just watch them die. Like,
what's like, I was like, this got really dark with the hedgehogs. Like, this is the last of a long line of dead hedgehogs. I was like, Jesus.
Right. He's like, this is the last hedgehog, and I've watched them all die. And Pete's just, like, nodding, like, that's normal. Like, it's so fucking weird. Oh, shit.
I mean, there's so many, and so I'm just going to point out one that made me laugh out loud, which shouldn't have made me laugh, because these are things I normally don't like either. It's just over-the-top, ridiculous action. But whatever. We're in KinnPorsche land, and I loved it. And it is when, the Vegas and, like, Minor family are, like, having their last stand, essentially. And we see Kinn's eldest brother, Tankun, and his, like, two bodyguard, like, friends who are, like, tech whizzes. They basically have, like, Home Alone mafia warfare. So Tankun is not somebody who knows his like, the business side of a gun. Like, we don't see him shooting people. He's, like, not that guy. But is he the guy who, like, can, like, bring in, like, a remote control car full of marbles and then, like, release the marbles so the baddies are, like, slipping and sliding on the marbles? Yes. It's like Kevin Arnold, the sequel. And it had a little microphone, so he could be like, basically like, over here.
Marbles in a gunfight.
Yeah.
Marbles in a gunfight in a parking garage. It was... Holy shit, that was so funny. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. But this is, like, part of the plot. Oh, he was like, and then he was like, Kinn, run! Like, well, really, I loved Tankun. So Tankun's the older brother. A little bit of his background is just that he was like kidnapped
so Pete's in the sex dungeon. They even forget about him at
so
first.
He's
like,
from then on,
forgetting
like,
about somebody
like,
important.
But he's like super eccentric.
Pete's like...
He has like the craziest outfits, gay as hell, just the best. Okay. And he always wants to, like, watch movies with his bodyguards, and sometimes they're scary, so, like, those scenes were so funny. And then at one point, so they think Pete's dead, so the whole time, no one's, like, going after Pete. Yes. They're just like, oh! his balls singed off. Yeah, so they hold this, like, funeral. Tankoon is, like, wailing and, like, yelling, like, it is so freaking funny, but then, like, Pete, like, hobbles in during the funeral, like, all bloody, limping, with his clothes torn, and Tankoon's like, Pete! It's just, oh my god, Tankoon is great. Yeah, so I want to talk about the action scenes, or really anything that was just over the top and unrealistic. You know, what's something that had you just, like, laughing out loud that just shouldn't have been funny?
Yeah. The bodyguard Ken's head in a box. So we find out Ken is, like, a secret, like, mole, basically. They knew there was a mole. It turns out to be Ken, who I believe must be Australian, because he had a pretty thick Australian accent, and I don't believe he speaks Thai particularly well.
He has a YouTube channel, and it's actually really interesting, but yeah, he's Australian.
And the reason I'm saying I don't know if he speaks Thai particularly well, it could be a characterization thing, but I'm actually watching another Thai drama right now called Cutie Pie, and he's in that, and occasionally he apologizes for his Thai. So, I'm just going off that. But anyway, he betrays the main family. What happens when you betray a main mafia family? You get your head in a box. And what's mostly funny is that Megan and I were like, was the production, like, we don't think the cost, like, they didn't have the money to give such a realistic head, because it's a good head.
Yeah.
They didn't. They'd cut a hole in the table, and Ken put his head through the hole, and just had to kind of, like, give, like, a bleh, dead face.
Because there's, like, shots of him, like, on scene, like, with his head shoved up through the table, and then, like, the other cast, like, pictures with him, like, with their, you know, like, peace signs. So, I mean, look, I was reading through the script before I filled it out, and Leah's responses were first, and Leah just wrote, Ken head in a box, and because I'd, like, temporarily forgotten it, and I just laughed out loud, so loud I scared my cat, because the head in the box was, like, the pinnacle of absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's, like, honestly, they, like, lifted up the head, and I think I was supposed to be upset they killed Ken. I laughed out loud. I was like, I cannot believe they put a head in a box.
Yeah,
and I also... Oh, it was, like, tilted to the... I mean, it was just so great. It was great. And I also love the fact that, like, Kinn's evil ex-boyfriend survived, like, a point-blank shot to the chest because he was wearing a bulletproof vest. So, like, they thought they killed him, and then he, like, springs back up, like, yeah, suckers, like, I'm still alive. But then Big, the beloved bodyguard, was not wearing a bulletproof vest. The bodyguard. And so when he got shot in the chest, he died. Like, I was like, so, if if bulletproof vests are this available, why are,
in
like,
their bodyguard tower,
spring for all your bodyguards to have bulletproof vests.
Everything from, like, swim training facilities to, like, gun rentals.
Oh my
I'm sure
God.
there was a bulletproof vest, so, like, maybe Big was just, like, cutting some corners on the PPE that day.
So, yeah, there were a lot of deaths. So, RIP to the real ones. And which death did you care about most?
Like, I want to say some of the bodyguards, because, I mean, like, I love them for who they were. Big, Chan, you know, a couple of them stood out for me. But, look, they kind of ran together, because they were just going down. Like, it was like you were all anonymous henchmen who were going to die. Right. So, I'm going to say I cared about Elizabeth the Carp. Tankun's beloved carp that, you know, as you pointed out earlier, Porsche pees in the pool, and it causes the death of, the eldest brother's beloved carp. And what's even better is when the carp is dead, and Tankun is holding it, like, justice for Elizabeth. Elizabeth, if you watch, is not dead. The carp is there with its mouth like brah, brah, brah.
Clearly still alive.
Like, I was like, either it's hilarious that the carp is still alive and Tankun just thinks she's dead, or, like, this poor carp dies because they had her out of the water so long, faking her death. Anyway, but the carp is definitely not dead in the scene. And then, obviously, the hedgehog dying of watery diarrhea is not how you want a cute little hedgehog to go.
Oh, yeah, he did. He was like, she's having watery stool. Like, thanks, Vegas.
Veterinarian Vegas for your, it's lack of vitamin D.
Well, I mean, just about the carp, so Porsche, he accidentally kills it by peeing in the pond, and then as punishment, Tankun makes him dress as a mermaid and flap around in a pool. It's
with a huge tail, a huge tail.
And, like, little shells over its nipples. Oh, my God. It's so funny. Anyway, So I'm gonna pour one out for Erica.
Yeah.
So Erica was like the gun dealer. Like she was basically she is in charge of all the guns. So when the major family house was like under attack by the minor family, you know, Kinn and Porsche are on the run, and they're about to be like, you know, cornered by a bunch of, I don't know, minor family people, and Erica just comes like roaring out from behind a corner with like guns in each hand. Just starts like firing off, and she's like screaming. It is, oh, God, Erica. It was very funny. So there is rumblings of a second season, and I would be surprised if they didn't have a second season, because this was extremely successful. Extremely.
Yeah, there better be a second season.
Yeah, and they definitely left some things,
There's
open-ended.
big cliffhangers at the end.
Yeah, true. I mean, not with the romances. But there's definitely some like mafia plots that like are still very open-ended. So, what do you want season 2 to focus on?
Okay, well, one thing we haven't talked about at all is the youngest brother, Kim, who is a pop star by day and super sleuth by night, down to moving like a picture off the wall, and it actually has like the sleuth with like the red yarn connecting people.
Yes!
So, and I mean, look, he's beautiful. So Kim is a mystery, and I want it all. And he also has this thing for Che, who is Porsche's little brother. Look, has Che graduated high school? I mean, I want to ship it, but I'm also like, he is a boy, so I'm trying to like thread that line. But like, yes, they have a sweet, and I appreciate how they've handled that side romance. Mostly it's just a lot of angst and Kim watching over Che like a dark angel.
Yes.
And Che, feeling betrayed because he had a crush on Kim and then didn't realize that like Kim was part of this mafia family that was kind of like, after his big brother. But anyway, I would like to see more of that, and I do appreciate that they've kept their relationship. I mean, there was like a kiss on the cheek, and that's been about it.
Yeah, because the actor playing Shay is actually like a minor.
So I mean, that's gonna stay, I think, sweet and innocent. And honestly, it's kind of a nice palate cleanser compared to everything else. Like we got like the ball electrocuting, and then we get like a kit, like Che writing a love song and like kissing Kim on the cheek. And I love how Kim just like literally is like stalking over Che. Like there was a scene where Che is like playing a video game and doesn't realize that like people are moving in to assassinate him. And then, like, Kim comes out from, like, who knows where, destroys and kills all the baddies. Like, 12 of them, while Che plays the video game. All by himself. So, yeah, I'm here for more Kim. I want to see Vegas and Pete, like, working on their shit and starting to get a little more domestic. I'm ready for a Kinn and Porsche wedding to, like, cap off season 2. And the big question for me is, like, so the mom was meant to be dead. The mom ends up not being dead, but like has no Porsche's mom and Che's mom, but she has no memory.
It's very weird,
and I'm like, I don't know. So the end is like the two boys adoringly hugging their mom, who's just sitting there like, burr.
Yeah, she's like catatonic. She's like, why are these men touching me?
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, it's very weird. Yeah, I mean, I agree. All those, I want to see Vegas and Pete like in a normal, well, as normal as you can get in the KinnPorsche world, but I want to see them in a more normal
with like
setting.
a hedgehog in a healthy environment.
Right, like let's get a hedgehog in a proper cage, or maybe let it wander around the house. I don't know. Kinn and Porsche wedding would be amazing, because one thing is at the end. So Porsche is now the head of the minor family. It's kind of a long story, but basically he's sort of related.
His sister was a foster sister. At first we thought they were actually blood cousins, which felt like I was like, at this point, fuck it, I don't care. Keep that, make that family tree alive.
You're not procreating.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But no, they are not first cousins. They are, not by blood, at least.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fine. But yeah, so it was very interesting. I know. I want to know. Yeah. So Porsche is now, obviously heavily involved. He's all for it. All for the mafia life, I guess. So yeah. I want a season 2 so bad. I would watch all these characters again and again and again. And like I said, they're doing like a world tour. You know that, right?
No, just to like fan meet people. Oh my god, I gotta look it up.
And they're like, oh my god, they're gonna do songs, they're gonna do, because like Kim, his name is Jeff, he's like a singer, that's what he does, and so yeah, they're doing a world tour.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up, because look, I'm in California, somebody's coming to California, so.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they are, but they're doing a world tour where the cast is going around, and they're doing like, it's like an actual show.
I'm into it. I mean, they are stupidly awesome, and the cast really, like I said, sells it. So, is there anything, like, before we go, is there anything else that you want to get off your chest about KinnPorsche?
Just that I loved it. I mean, I honestly loved it. You gotta give it a shot.
I want to just get off my chest one last thing, which is bread.
Yeah.
I never knew that bread could have such a role in a drama, because somehow they have a bread product placement, and there's like some scenes where they're just eating some fucking bread, and it's just bread. Like, they're pulling it out. It looks like Wonder Bread, like out of a bag, and just like numbing on the bread, like in the mafia, like the sumptuous grounds of like their mansions. Like, just have some of this delicious bread. It's so good.
Just like slow zoom in on the bag of bread.
It zoomed in more lovingly than it did Vegas electrocuting Pete's balls, which was very like, focus shot. And then later, or no, I don't know if it was later or earlier, but there's a scene where they're in bed together and they're eating bread, and then they like French kiss bread into each other's mouths. And, like, I was like, you know what? They got that product placement, got its money's worth. Because, I mean, like, if I knew that brand of bread, and I went to Thailand, I'd be like, yeah, I'm buying that bread.
Sure, I would buy the bread. I know, the bread promo was amazing. I think they had a whole ramen promo, too.
Oh, yeah, which was, like, more problematic. Okay, so we're going to serve your ramen, but it's going to be in a sex dungeon, and the person eating it's going to be chained. But he's going to enjoy it a lot.
Like, did the people paying for this promo know what scene their stuff was going to be in? Like, I need to know. It was amazing. As always, I love the promo in Asian dramas, but the bread was definitely, I mean, they're just like sitting there eating bread.
Yeah, just like, not toasted, not with like slathered in jam, just like plain dry bread.
Like, who sits there and just takes a piece of bread out of a bag and eats it?
As you're at a table with like silver and china.
I mean, if you do, that's great. Like, good for you.
And they're like, oh, this bread, it's just so, like, good.
And it's just sliced bread. That's enough.
Yeah, sliced white
literally
bread.
Is like Wonder Bread.
Oh my god. Okay, so we've talked about the marbles. We've talked about the merman. We've talked about the bread, the hedgehog, the electrodes. I mean, and we haven't even we are an hour and 20 in, and we haven't even scratched the surface of the bananas that's in KinnPorsche.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's like, even if we told you the plot, it does not matter. Like, I promise you, you will still get enjoyment. If, like, this sounds at all up your alley, you'll still get enjoyment out of it. And there's still plenty more stuff we didn't mention. That is just, again, off the wall crazy.
It's a joyful look. I've rewatched it already.
Oh, I've rewatched scenes, for
and
sure.
I mean,
like, the handjob scene? Who has not? I mean,
I'm going to be rewatching this drama probably, like, once or twice a year, just because, I mean, like, it's pretty quick, and it's delightful. And I will say, the second time watching it, I understood a lot more of what was happening on the mafia side of things the first time.
Oh, okay.
I think I was just, like, kind of just, like, I don't know, there's a lot of henchmen at all times. The second time made me appreciate Kim more, because Kim from the beginning, like, I was, like, at the beginning, like, okay, and then there's this random Kim guy, and he's got his, like, paranoia poster board. But this time I'm like, he's, like, putting shit together way before everyone else. He clearly is the smartest tool in the toolkit of that family.
Yeah, because for a while there, you and I were both like, we don't even really care about these mafia dealings, and I don't think it's making sense. Because I do feel like towards the middle, the plot went off the rails, and it kind of, like, stayed off the rails, but just on, like, two wheels.
Yeah. And I mean, like, look, there were some, like, side plots, but I think it was just to, like, the Italian stuff we could have probably done without, but who cares? I mean, like, we had to have some shootouts. And look, the other thing we haven't touched on, and we have to touch on this before we go, and then we will release everyone. We did not talk about the freaking moment that we have KinnPorsche shooting back to back in the like grand final like shootout scene.
Like, talk about like a grand fight scene where they both, so they're facing each other, they're pressed chest to chest, and they each have like one arm over the other's shoulder, so they're firing in separate directions at all the baddies.
And this just shows again that equal. Like, this is again like really the show being like, look, these are equals in terms of power.
Right. Yeah, they're equals. They're a team. Because that's what that's when Porsche basically says to Kinn, "I'm not on anyone's side. I'm not on the minor family side. I'm not on the major family side. I'm on your side. Yeah. That's whose side. I'm on your side." And that was kind of like the final, like, nail in the relationship coffin in a good way.
Yeah. It was like the last like little thing to peel off was like, because Kinn kept being like, "I want you to be loyal to my family. I want you to be loyal to my family. I want you to be loyal to my family." And look, Kinn's family's fucked up. So Porsche's kind of like, I think they killed my mom, so like not really, but I am loyal to you.
Yeah, and it was like, and them shooting back to back was epic, and that was I think that was in some trailers, and I remember a bunch of like viewers kept saying, "Oh my god, when front to front shooting scene gonna happen?"
And the pool scene, because at the end they do get down and dirty in a infinity pool overlooking Bangkok.
Oh my god!
And like
just these, they're just screwing everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh my god! There's like an underwater kiss in the pool. Yeah. Remember that when they jump in with all their clothes? They jump in with all their clothes for really no reason.
Well, a bodyguard comes in to do the rounds. And they have to hide.
Yeah, but like,
I mean, it's Kinn's freaking empire. He could be like, "Yeah, I'm in here and I'm freaking screwing Porsche in the face. What are you going to do about it?" Instead, they're like, "Oh, quick, jump in the pool. Let's make out underwater.
Let's make out underwater and kiss."
Yeah. So many questions. And look, I don't know how comfortable it is to kiss underwater, and I don't know how comfortable it is to, like, you know, fuck in a pool, but it looked good. It looked fun.
It looked way fun. I mean, I feel like Porsche could just be twisted like a pretzel. I mean, the guy just looks, very limber.
Okay, I think we're gonna get
on that note.
On that note, I look forward to hopefully seeing them on their world tour of whatever.
Yeah,
maybe he'll do some contortionist act.
Oh god. Doing some splits on stage.
I just didn't know I needed this in my life. I think that's the thing. The bottom line is 2020 brought me Crash Landing on You. 2022 brought me KinnPorsche.
Mm-hmm. And it was delightful both times.
Everything I didn't know I needed.
Off a cliff.
Yeah.
Annyeong!
Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Make sure to subscribe for more great K-romance conversation. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Afternoona Delight Podcast for more information on our podcast, behind-the-scenes photos, and, of course, pics of our favorite oppas and anis. Annyeong!